Okay, so the State of the Union was interesting, pretty much what we expected. I can pretty much sum up the entire thing like this. Now, there were some other, I don't know how to say, touching moments where I felt touched inside, and I want to
To our
share.
fellow Ukrainian Americans who forged the deep bond that connects our two nations, we stand with you. We stand with you. Putin may circle Kyiv with tanks, but he'll never gain the hearts and souls of the Iranian people.
Did he just say, no, he couldn't have. Did he just say the Iranian people? I'm pretty sure Iran has nothing to do with this. I must have misheard that. Let me hear it again.
To our fellow Ukrainian Americans who forged a deep bond that gained the hearts and souls of the Iranian people.
Oh, he said Uranian people. Wait a minute. Uranian? So does that mean that they're trying to start a new country called Urania? Wait a minute. If they're starting a new country called Urania, this could be the next piece of propaganda where NATO goes in and tries to protect Urania. No, obviously I'm just kidding. But I thought that was the first gaffe of the night, and it didn't take long. It was only a few minutes in, and it took a little bit longer for the second gaffe to come in. But in the end, there were some reassuring moments in the speech. For one, Biden made it clear that we're not sending equipment and troops and ships over to fight Ukraine.
Our forces are not going to Europe to fight Ukraine, but to defend our NATO allies in the event that Putin decides to keep moving west.
That's right. So for all you people who thought we were going in there to fight Ukraine, well, just rest assured, Biden's got a handle on this situation. Yeah, so I mean, that's kind of how the whole night went. Some really bizarre moments that I didn't clip where the Democrats were chanting USA as Biden went on a rant about how everything should be bought in the USA and how we should only buy American-made products, and then went on to pat all the Republican rhinos on the back for passing that monstrosity of an infrastructure bill, and then they all celebrated themselves for a little while. It was kind of weird. He did make up a new narrative, though, and you know what? I don't know if it's new because I know both right and left wing media. I don't care if you're watching Newsmax, CNN, Fox News, MSNBC. It doesn't matter. The narrative is equally bizarre and in line. They're all in lockstep, and it's creepy, to be honest with you. But he has a narrative in here that he's playing to, I guess it's to hype up the idea that Putin's going for world dominance here, and Ukraine's only the first step, and he's gonna, which is just a complete lack of understanding of the history of this conflict. But that when they're done with Ukraine, well, we're afraid they'll go into Poland and try and hit other NATO nations. Yeah. So here's Biden. Let me grab this. This is him selling this to you in a very, very, very unconvincing and unsincere way.
The United States and our allies will defend every inch of territory that is NATO territory with the full force of our collective power. Every single inch.
Every single inch. There's no threat, right? At least right now, of Russia going into NATO countries. The idea that this narrative is so bizarre that I don't even, at least considering the way things are playing out, the narrative is absolutely bizarre. All right, but this Ukrainian president, this guy's no saint. So and when they start playing this poor little democracy, this is a democracy where the press gets shut down regularly for political purposes. Political opponents are squashed. This is not a democracy the way you think of a democracy. That's like saying China is a republic because it's called the People's Republic of China. It's not as bad as China. I don't want to go down that road, but it certainly is not is not of the same ilk that other Western countries are when it comes to democracy. Now, there's another thing he said in the State of the Union that I found particularly creepy, and it was eerily reminiscent of George Bush selling the case for Iraq, where he went around the world with our intelligence agencies. And Powell, if you remember, Powell was going around with that satellite imagery and pointing out where all the WMD were. And by the way, at that time, full disclosure, I was all in. I was like, let's get them. I didn't care. All right, I grew up in New York City. I was living in Hackensack at the time, New Jersey. My mom was working maybe 6 blocks from the Trade Center, something like that, and that was real to me. Okay, that attack wasn't something we saw on the news. That was something I wanted blood for, and in the end, I bought into everything. I bought into the Patriot Act. I bought into Iraq. I bought into everything at the time. All right. And it's just another example of how new information and keeping your eyes open and paying attention and not getting locked into a narrative can wake you up. But what he says right here is very eerily similar. Just hear me out when you listen to it and tell me if it doesn't remind you of us selling the world on WMD in Iraq.
We shared with the world in advance what we knew Putin was planning and precisely how he would try to falsify and justify his aggression. We countered Russia's lies with the truth.
And you hear what he's saying, right? America went around the world selling the narrative to the rest of Europe. So it's possible, who knows what they covered with them and what they said to them, right? This time it wasn't nearly as public a parade show as it was with Powell touring the world with the satellite images. This was behind closed doors. Hey, listen, we got this information. We got that information. Do we not know by now, like, how those things go? Like, the more I watch this, the more this entire conflict situation, the more I sit here and say, you know what? Maybe everyone is in this great reset mode. Because and the Great Reset, by the way, is a real thing. Like, there are very wealthy people in this world trying to create what they call the Great Reset, which would basically descend our economy into the abyss and put us on par with everybody else under control of a vast variety of nations under elite leadership. They absolutely is a movement, a serious movement, well-funded, incredibly organized, that's been working on this for some 100 years now. Okay, so don't sit here and throw that in the conspiracy theory ranks. That's a conspiracy fact. They don't even hide it. They write books. They do the whole nine. All right, they talk about it openly at these World Economic Forums. They don't even try to shy away. They don't even say, no, that's silly. They'll tell you.
Hello from the World Economic Forum in Geneva. My name is Adrian Monk. Delighted to welcome you to this launch briefing for a new book from the forum, COVID-19, The Great Reset. I'm joined here in our studios in Geneva by the authors, Thierry Malloret, a former forum colleague, and by Professor Klaus Schwab, who is the founder and executive chairman of the World Economic Forum.
Now, when we look at COVID, I think we should distinguish between 3 phases. We have the 3 R's: restrain, which means to fight the virus, the hot phase. Most countries are in today. Then we have recover, to go back to a kind of new normal. And finally, the reset, which means to define and to design the strategies which should lead us in the after-corona phase.
That's what we need. And in this speech, and I'm kicking myself right now for not clipping it, Biden actually uses the term, we need a reset.
We've lost so much in COVID-19. Time with one another. The worst of all, the loss of life. Let's use this moment to reset.
All right, so these are just things for you. I'm trying to send you down your rabbit hole, right? So you go out, do your research, try and find your information, and then share it, right? That's what the think tank's all about. Get on the comments, share it. You can email us directly through the website, info@thepatriotthinktank.com. We do respond to everything, as you know. We're all over the comments. But now was the rest of let me get into the rest of this. So the rest of it was just funny to me. And I know it pissed some people off. And, I talked to some people like, he's lying right through. How could he do that? Well, we all know how he could do that, right? So no one's shocked. This is what State of the Union speeches are. But I thought, look, since you can't shut him up, we may as well have a little bit of fun with him, right? So let's have some fun with him.
First, cut the cost of prescription drugs. Let's cut energy costs for families. Let's provide an investment tax credits to weatherize your home, to be energy efficient. Double America's clean energy production in solar, wind, and so much more. Lower the price of electric vehicles, saving another $80 a month that you're not going to have to pay at the pump. Just cut the cost of childcare. But my plan doesn't stop there. It also includes home and long-term care, more affordable housing, pre-K for 3- and 4-year-olds. And under my plan, nobody, let me say this again, nobody earning less than $400,000 a year will pay an additional penny in new taxes.
You can't do that. You can't do that.
And that's why in the G7 and other meetings overseas, I was able to be somewhat helpful. 130 countries agree on a global minimum tax rate.
That's not how it works. That's not how any of this works.
Tonight, I'm announcing that the Justice Department will soon name a chief prosecutor for pandemic fraud.
What is that exactly?
Raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour and extend the child tax credit and invest in what Jill, our First Lady who teaches full-time, calls America's best-kept secret, community colleges. Most Americans and most of the country can now go mask-free. And based on projections, more of the country will reach a point across the next couple of weeks.
We never needed your consent.
Now, I know parents with kids under 5 are eager to see their vaccines authorized for their children. I've ordered more pills than anyone in the world has.
Okay, that makes sense.
We've provided free vaccines, treatments, tests, and masks.
Who is paying for all this?
God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you. Go get him.
Just the way that he says, go get him. Go get him. Who, Joe? Who? That's what I was thinking at the end of that. It was so awkward, the way that he said that. And it's like he got so riled up in his speech and was so feeling himself that he couldn't help himself.
Go get him.
He just couldn't help himself. Go get him. Not go get him. No, go get him. I don't know. I found that to be hilarious. But there's so much nonsense to unpack there. It's the typical, globalist craziness. Free healthcare, free this, free that. You get a car, I get a car. Let's lower the price of this. Let's fix the pricing of that. Let's control everything in your life. And it's just nuts. It's just nuts. I mean, it's the same speech, no matter who's giving it, right? It's the same speech when every leftist goes up there. It's all about giving out the house, as if the government has money. This is why we need Article 5 in the Convention of States, folks. This is it. This is the reason. Like, just that speech right there, that laundry list of garbage, realizing that the evil laugh of Xi Jing Ping is who's paying for this entire thing. It's just insanity. They just don't care about our money anymore. They believe in new monetary theory, which means they can just make up funds. They literally, when we say printing money, they're not literally printing money because it costs more than $1 to print $1 today. They just go in and type in a few keys and poof, there's another $1 trillion in the economy. It's not really $1 trillion in the economy. And I left out the part where he tried to make these sad excuses for inflation. It's because of semiconductor chips and this blabber, as if it's not 99.9% because we spend too much freaking money. That's why. That's why there's inflation. That's why when you go to and by the way, this is not just a Biden problem. Okay, it may be happening right now, but don't get that twisted. That's not how this works. Okay? Trump, Obama, Bush before him, they all let the frickin' spending go crazy. All of them. They sit here and talk about deficits while the debt just keeps stacking. All right? That's where inflation comes from. We didn't stop printing money at any point. They've been cranking out these dollars forever. Trump yells at the Fed and gets mad at the Fed, but in the end, this didn't change anything. Debt clock still cranked. Congress still voted for more spending. Both Republicans and Democrats, they don't care anymore. They don't care. There's no one you're going to elect that's going to fix this. Article 5 will fix this. It's time that we, the people, be the adult in the room, come in and stop the food fight. Okay? That's why Article 5 exists. And we're going to get this through. I'm dying for these information. There should be a lot of movement happening soon. I believe it was Wyoming just went through. I'm going to put a video on those updates as well. I'm also going to be putting out a video with my solo take. I did the live piece with Jack yesterday, pretty much during the State of the Union speech, because it was one of our first times going live in like 8 months, and we're only like 8 months old as a channel. So we decided to do it at a slower time. Since we're political, during the State of the Union seemed like a good bet. Things went pretty well, though. It's still up there. You can check it out. We give a pretty unpopular opinion about the Russian situation, at least to some conservatives. But again, we're not here to make you feel good. We're here to try and get to the bottom of things. And if you have information, like I said earlier, it's the think tank. Drop that information in. All right, drop that information in. Let's share information. Let's share what we know. Let's share our opinions. And let's try and dig through the muck of this propaganda, right? All right, cool. Until next time, I'm out.
And like that,